Because it really matters. It matters. There you go. Done.
Good. What time is it? Good afternoon, everybody. How goes the battle? Look, there's a lot of jokes that one can make about this video that we just saw. One of which is Joe Biden has no idea what he just signed. That would be the most obvious joke. The one I went for after opting for that joke as well was 10% for the big guy. We're going to have a lot to discuss today. I like it. I think there's four big topics. We're going to have, talk about what military aid actually means. Talk about the fact that a country can find $4 billion to give in military aid to a foreign country for a foreign conflict, which, we don't even need to get into which side you're on. Let's just operate on the basis that it's an egregious foreign conflict. A country with its own massive problems, its own hungry children, its own homeless people, its own serious social issues, can't resolve those, doesn't have the finances, the resources to resolve its own domestic problems, but magically finds billions and billions of dollars to finance and supply foreign conflict. Setting aside the fact that, with the stroke of that pen, and we've had now people in the Biden administration effectively admitting that they're funding a proxy war against Russia, and that the reason why it's important to support Ukraine is to support their proxy war against Russia. Setting all of that geopolitical stuff aside, you have a country which literally has its own hungry children. It's got its own overdose problems. It's got serious domestic problems, and it doesn't have the funds or the resources for this, but it has billions of dollars to finance foreign conflicts. Same thing goes for Canada, by the way. Canada got the same problems that you got in the US. Record high levels of OD issues affecting the young population. Indigenous peoples who still don't have clean drinking water. Reservations which are still on boil water advisories. We live in Canada. It's a rich country, according to some. Our Indigenous Canadian population, many of them still don't have clean drinking water, yet Justin Trudeau can find hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to finance a foreign war. Donates our military supplies from our own, stockpile, our own inventory, depleting the Canadian inventory, leaving Canada, vulnerable, but I'm not sure who's invading Canada these days, at this time at least. Finds all the money in the world for foreign conflict, finds all the resources in the world for foreign conflict, donated our PPE, our personal protective equipment, to China in the early part of the pandemic, leaving Canadians vulnerable, donating military supplies to Ukraine, leaving Canada vulnerable, in theory. Luckily we have the US to our south. But people don't, you think of military aid, it's just, they're giving billions of dollars. It's worse than giving billions of dollars to finance, fund, supply foreign conflict. When I was younger, when I was dumber, when I was more ignorant and naive, it's like, okay, well, I can see why people get offended at the idea that the US, with its own domestic concerns, with its own domestic problems, is giving billions of dollars to foreign nations to help them with their defense. And I just thought at the time, it's like, okay, well, they're giving them billions of dollars. That should be, you should, charity starts at home. Fix your own domestic problems before interfering in foreign conflict. And it's even more insidious than that. These military aid packages, they're conditional. They're giving US, Canadian taxpayer dollars to foreign conflicts, to foreign nations, to fund, finance, supply their conflict. But they buy those weapons from somebody. They buy back those weapons from the US, from US interests. It's the idea. They're not just giving taxpayer dollars to foreign countries. They're doing it with the condition that effectively, though, those taxpayer dollars come back to various interests, typically known as the military-industrial complex. It comes back to those interests. And so what it is effectively like, it's the same type of taxpayer dollar money laundering in the non-criminal sense, in the political sense, that you see with COVID ads, that you see with government advertising on media. They collect those tax dollars, they then spend it in interested entities who they finance, and thus finance them again so that they can get that money back one way, in one form or another. And I was just looking into this today. I mean, it's my learning curve in real time. I just cut the share screen. It's my learning curve in real time. Let's just look at what's going on with the Ukrainian aid. Well, let's look at the Canadian. It's interesting. This is the Canadian on a Government of Canada website. Canadian military support. What is this dated? Let me expand this so I can see it. Don't know what the date is on this. Last updated May 6th. Now let me make sure that we are looking at the same thing, and then we're going to get into the standard disclaimers. We are. This is Canada's role in we don't have hungry children here. We don't have Indigenous people here who don't have clean drinking water. We don't have immediate national concerns. Justin Trudeau is looking after international and arguably other interests to the detriment of the people he was elected to serve. Serve, by the way. He serves the people and not vice versa, but you'd think he might have forgotten that. Canada remains committed to continuing to provide Ukraine with the military equipment it needs to defend its sovereignty, freedom, and independence. Since February 2022, the federal government of Canada has donated equipment from existing Canadian armed forces stocks and has entered into contracts with defense suppliers. In the budget, in budget 2022, Canada allocated an additional $500 million in military aid for Ukraine for the 2022-2023 year. Let's just see here. There was the issue about, what else they've done. Now I'm just going to look for this because I know it's in here. Here we go. It's going to bring us to one of our other points. April 28, 2022. The Minister of National Defense confirmed that the Canadian Armed Forces are training Ukrainian forces on the use of M777 howitzers. Just remember that word. Where else was it? Here we go. April 22nd. The Government of Canada announced that Canada has now delivered a number of M777 howitzers and associated ammunition, as well as additional Carl Gustav anti-armor ammunition to the security forces of Ukraine. Okay. That's Canada's contribution to this. Just remember the howitzer for one reason in particular, and the internet can correct me if these dots are unconnected. What's the U.S. doing? And by the way, I appreciate the arguments. People are going to say, well, look, World War II, if America didn't get involved, it would have been atrocious. Until you find out that America was actually arming both sides at one point in time in full awareness of fact and law. Setting that aside. If America didn't get involved in World War II, if they didn't supply the British, the French, the Allied forces, it would have been atrocious. That argument will always be the case in any foreign conflict, which is, in the mind of some, an unjust foreign conflict. It will always be the case. How do you pick and choose? How does a nation which has its own national interests pick and choose? You pick and choose typically if, on the one end, if it's totally egregious, but even then sometimes you don't do anything. If there's no financial interest, you don't often get involved. It's interesting, the global movement to intervene in Russia-Ukraine conflict, but not in other conflicts, which might lead you to believe that there might be other types of incentive, other types of motivating factors. Maybe people get more offended when it's Europeans killing Europeans than when it's other peoples in other nations killing people in those nations. Maybe it shows, if we want to talk about systemic racism and underlying bias, maybe it shows that a little bit. Setting all of that aside, there will be that argument. An unjust foreign conflict, someone has to do something. Okay, then either there's consistent application or there isn't, or you acknowledge at some point in time that no particular nation can be the international policeman in every foreign conflict out there. And why focus on Ukraine, Russia, and not what's been going on for decades in other countries? Well, you can't fight them all. True. You can't fight them all. Now, which ones do you get involved in, and why do you get involved in them? But setting that aside for now, the argument will always be there. You can't let injustice go unchecked. What is the U.S. doing? Pulling this from Al Jazeera, by the way. Oh, don't. I don't want to get to that. Pulling this from Al Jazeera. U.S. providing additional 150 million. This is old. This is relatively old. May 6th. I think there's been updates to what's being provided, but it's good enough. President Joe Biden urges Congress to approve more funds, saying they'll help Kyiv on battlefield and in talks with Russia. The United States has authorized an additional 150 million in military aid for Ukraine, the State Department said, bringing the total of such assistance to $3.8 billion since Russia's invasion of the country began. Okay. We will continue to provide Ukraine the arms its forces are effectively using to defend their country and the freedom of their fellow citizens, said Blinken, adding the military aid comes alongside other efforts by Washington to support Kiev. Okay. You see the report includes supports to document atrocities committed by Russian troops in their continuing invasion, the top U.S. diplomat said, as well as curbs on the Russian economy. Fine. Let me just see something here, because I think howitzer was in here. Yes, here we go. Last month, Washington approved two $800 million aid packages. Here's money, and buy the weapons back. Here's the money that are earmarked for your specific use to acquire certain weapons. It's taxpayer money laundering from the taxpayers of one country to the military industrial complex of that country, to the interested groups, to the powers that be. Some of this money might get siphoned off through various corruption and what have you. Don't ask the government to audit itself effectively. Last month, Washington approved two $800 million aid packages for Ukraine, which included howitzer artillery systems and related ammunitions, as well as armored vehicles, helicopters, and armed drones. So you see what this aid is being earmarked for. We see howitzer come up again. For the fun of it, I just said howitzer. Who owns howitzer? Let me see this here. Let me see. I want to show you my work so that you don't think I'm making this up. No, that's hold on. Who owns howitzer? And let's see if anybody can take any guesses. Hold on. Where is it? That's the criminal code. Majority of Canadians. Oh yeah, who makes the howitzer? Here we go. Yes, people, it's Wikipedia, and we're going to get into an entire segment today as to why Wikipedia, when it comes to anything remotely political, is not just useless, it's actually destructive. It is the misinformation it warns about. We'll get there, but this is from Wikipedia. The M77 howitzer, we've talked about that before. That's what the Canadians are helping people train on, and that's what's being given. That's what's being provided with this military aid. Here's hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to get a howitzer. And we'll train you on how to use it. The M77 howitzer is a towed 155 millimeter artillery piece. It is used by the ground forces of Australia, Canada, India, Saudi Arabia, Ukraine, and the United States. It made its combat debut in the war in Afghanistan. The M777 is manufactured by BAE Systems Global Combat System Division. Okay. I'm an idiot. I'm wet behind the ears, totally naive. What is BAE? What is BAE, people? Let's just see. And maybe I've made a mistake in my homework. And in which case, if I've made a mistake, you can see my notes and you can see my homework and you can know where I went wrong. This is according to CNN Business Insider. Yeah, we're looking at the same thing. Let me just do one thing before I lose it. We're looking at the same document. CNN Business. What do we see here? Top 10 owners of BAE Systems PLC. Now, I presume that's the same company, or maybe the mother company, but I think that's the same company or related entity. Top 10 owners of BAE Systems. Capital Research. I don't know what that is. BlackRock. I mean, I don't really know what BlackRock is. I just know that I've been hearing their name a lot recently. BlackRock Advisors. Who else do we have in here? Top 10 mutual funds. Oh, look at what we got in the mutual funds. BlackRock Large Cap, BlackRock Global Funds. I feel like that from that Simpsons episode, Mr. Black, BlackRock Japan, BlackRock Enhanced. It's even, I hadn't even gotten to the second page when I first found this. So yeah, it's almost like it seems that the system, the complex itself, has found a way to launder taxpayer dollars from the taxpayers of one country, fund it up to the government. Government takes its cut because government doesn't work for free. Come on, people. Then picks and chooses which foreign conflicts to get involved in, and then offers hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in military aid under the earmark that those monies, those taxpayer dollars, after having gone to the government where the government gets its cut, goes to these entities to be used for specific purchases. And now we see who these interested parties are in these companies who manufacture the weapons that are being given, being donated, being provided. It's quite interesting. Anyways, at least I found it interesting. And if I've made any mistakes in my homework, interwebs, please do let me know. Well, that was the opening. That's the opening, and we're going to get into the standard disclaimers. This is when people talk about military aid, people don't really appreciate how it works. I first learned of this when it came to other foreign conflicts where the U.S. picked an ally and decided they were going to do it this way. And it's like, oh, well, it's interesting. Okay. I can see why this irritates people, but it irritates people even more. And now I understand why. You're taking taxpayer dollars, siphoning it up to the government, donating it to foreign conflict under the condition that it be basically sent right back to you or your interested contract partners. And everyone in between takes their cut, 10% for the big guy. Yeah, I'm the new Alex Jones. We're gonna get to conspiracy theorists. I mean, at some point, we're gonna get to it with the Wikipedia. Just remind me that my deep thought was that people are not right wing because of their beliefs anymore. Their beliefs are made into right wing beliefs because the individual is branded wrongly as such. It's like we've put the carriage in front of the horse. People, we're through the looking glass. All right, that was the intro. Standard disclaimers now. Super chats such as this. Salty Army checking in. Here's $5 before they demonetize you. Let me see. We talked about BlackRock. I think. Refresh. And we're yellow. We're yellow, people. No reason, except I know the reason, which is, I'll call it brigades, but I think it's when it gets demonetized before the content is out. It has nothing to do with YouTube picking up words. And by the way, I don't want anyone thinking I'm complaining. These have all systematically been getting remonetized after I asked for manual review. It is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. $5 super chat. Thank you very much. YouTube takes 30% of all super chats. If that miffs you, if you don't like supporting YouTube, and I can understand that, let me just plug my phone in. We are also simultaneously streaming on Rumble. Rumble has a thing called Rumble Rants. And let me just see if we are in fact live there. We are, and good. Rumble has a thing called Rumble Rants, and I see the Salty Army has checked in there as well. Rumble takes 20% in their Rumble Rants, so better for the creator, better to support a platform that you actually like. But if you want to support us in another place, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, that is the best place. Okay. And if I don't bring up your super chat and you're going to be angry about it, don't bring it up. Don't give it, because I don't like people feeling angry. Like they paid for something that I didn't give them. I will miss super chats, and I don't want anyone feeling angry or what's the word? Grifted, shilled, miffed, rooked, or whatever. Love you, but you've been getting far too emotional over the last few weeks. Your passion, though admirable, is destroying your independence. Take stock. I don't know what that means, but here, I'll tell you one thing. First of all, thank you for the super chat, and I'm saying this with sincerity. This is emotional. In fact, appealing to one's emotions. Well, emotional? I don't know how you measure that. And I would like to know what it's destroying in terms of my independence. I don't even. What did I just do here? How do I get out of here? Okay, there we go. I think this response is actually an emotional response, because I must have said something with which you might disagree, and I'd like to know what that was substantively. But thank you nonetheless. And at some point, if the worst thing that happens to me is I get emotional, worse things have happened. I don't think getting emotional affects one's independence whatsoever. It might affect their thought process. It might affect the manner in which they react and assess. But that doesn't affect independence. It just affects process and potentially credibility. But when I say something wrong, if my emotion, if it does indeed exist, compromises my ability to analyze. I want to know when, where, and I want the concrete example so I can address it, learn from it, or refute it. The amount of money the US is sending in support is almost as much as the entire Russians' defense budget. Glenn Greenwald does an amazing... that's Glenn Greenwald, I think you meant. Unless it isn't. It's Glenn Greenwald. Does an amazing breakdown. Thank you very much. Howdy Viva. Has it been clarified what Justin Castro said in Parliament a few days ago as the F word? Time zones make it hard to keep up. No, and they've moved on. It was a 6-letter F word. So it's either the F word with an ED or it's an F word with 2 G's in it. And I think it's the F word with 2 G's because nobody refers to Fucked as a 6-letter swear word. They refer to that as the 4-letter F word. We don't know yet, but I'll go back and look. If anybody knows, let me know, please. Their howitzers are no match for our meme cannons. Yeah, well, according to some people, actually, people think memery is, it needs to be regulated. It needs to be regulated. Remember when Trudeau said Canada will be the first post-national state? I don't remember it. I have no doubt that he said it. But yeah. The donations, and they dare ask, I think the donations, by the way, are for actual humanitarian aid, which, that it doesn't really see, they say it's humanitarian and military, but it's primarily military. And then meanwhile, the actual victims of this conflict, Ukrainian citizens who have to flee, drop everything, who are injured, who are losing everything, they have to rely on donations in Poland and fundraisers and donations by citizenry in foreign countries. And all that hundreds of millions, it goes to howitzers, people. It goes to howitzers because it's far more profitable to do it that way than to actually help the end use people who need the help. And it reminds me, talking about it here. I just Googled an image from an article about children poverty in the United States, and got this image here, and it's just sorry guys, go look at what's happening in California. Go look at what's happening Chicago, Michigan. I know I went from cities to states there. I'm sorry, American children, but there's a foreign war, but there's a war in a foreign country, and it's very profitable, more profitable than feeding you, and it is. And that's why, you can't find an increased budget for giving teachers raises, making sure that schools have clean air, but you can find hundreds of millions of dollars for COVID ads. It's atrocious. Okay, let's see here. You're doing fine. How can one not get upset at any given time in times like this? When you see what's going on, look, there's no question I'm upset. It's atrocious what's going on in Canada, in the US, in the world. It's atrocious. And but getting upset doesn't mean you dial it back. Make sure that you're not seeing red. Make sure that you're not retweeting something before verifying it. I think I have that. It's not detachedness, but I think I have that recul, as we say in French, the distance required. Anyway, so that's it. That's what's going on in terms of the aid to the Ukraine. Understand what's going on. Understand who's involved, and understand actually who profits from all of this and who gets the royal shaft. By the way, we're doing an unboxing today during the stream. It's from Heart Tackle. I think I've torn off any identifying information. I don't know if Heart Tackle I don't know if it was their office address, but I know the sounds of hooks when I hear them. We're doing an unboxing today. Are made in the UK. Yeah, well, M777 howitzer, according to Wikipedia, are made in the UK. True. It's only a question of seeing, the hedge funds or the mutual funds, the stockholders, who has the biggest interest in this company. And it's familiar names. It is familiar names, and it's the nature of the beast. But speaking of Wikipedia, and speaking of the fact that it's no longer the views that make someone extreme right wing. Typically, you would be called extreme right wing if you espoused extreme right wing views, such as, I don't know, I don't want to say them, views on homosexuality, views on gay marriage, views on what would be typically extreme right wing views. I can't think of the classics that I would want to say. Outright bigotry, outright intolerance of ethnic minorities, religious minorities. Okay. Other than that, It used to be that having those views would make you a right-wing extremist. Now, it's the carriage in front of the horse. They pick a person that they don't like and then call them right-wing extremists, thereby transforming any of their views into right-wing extremist views. Even if you're pro-gay marriage, obviously. Even if you think homosexuality, even if you think what two full-grown adults decide to do with each other or with their own bodies is none of my business. Even if you think that, even if you believe in some form of, not certification, but license, some form, if you want some firearm restrictions, even if you believe in some of that, if they call you right-wing extremists, well, then those beliefs, which were otherwise not right-wing extremist beliefs, but actually pretty centrist and pretty reasonable, become extremist beliefs. And this is the tactic. It's the tactic. It's the wrap-up smear. It's you demonize the person, and therefore any belief, or thereby any belief that they've had, which would have otherwise been a reasonable belief, itself becomes an extreme belief. And where does it start? Well, it starts on Wikipedia. Look at Wikipedia. Eric Hunley, who has a great podcast, a great YouTube channel, Laid Back News, American Untold Stories. He's now doing a joint venture with Nate Brody, which is well worth following on the YouTubes. He sent me something, because I don't know how Wikipedia works, but the talk on Wikipedia. The talk on Wikipedia, which shows the edits that they tried to do on Wikipedia on any given entry. Now, it's not because I'm egocentric. He sent me the talk behind my Wikipedia page and the entries that people wanted to put in. And you got to see this. It's laughable. The tweet is, the talk on Wikipedia edits really illustrates why it's not just useless for anything remotely political, but actually itself a source of misinformation and politically motivated smears. These are the editors discussing edits to my Wikipedia page. And I just pulled up one. You got to read this. This is not ironic. It's not ironic. It's not sarcastic. At first, I thought it was. This is the actual discussion process in the talk page on my Wikipedia page. I'm a guy who voted for the Coalition Avenir de Québec. I'm a guy who believes in some reasonable restrictions or requirements for firearms. I do happen to think people should have to take a course, not necessarily have to have a license, because now I see what goes on when the government has a registry of, potentially political ideological adversaries who might be firearm owners. And if the Trudeau government, knows that, there's very easy ways that they can weaponize that information. Without necessarily talking about registering so the government knows everything that you have in your house, I think a course should be obligatory. Because I do think firearms, they're like vehicles. You need to know what they do, how they operate, how they can go wrong, how you have to treat them. And I think that's reasonable. That makes me, and I know that that's going to upset a lot of the Second Amendment supporting fans that I have, who say shall not be infringed in the States. In Canada, it's beyond that. It shall not be tolerated in any manner whatsoever. But so I know that that's going to upset people on both sides. But if someone just forget the ideas, just go after the person. That way you don't have to worry about the ideas. You don't have to worry about showing your homework. You just have to worry about making the accusations. This is from look at this, POV political views. This is the discussion they're having. The section describing his political views is laughable. Talk about being emotional in a thought process, using words like laughable, rhetorical, hyperbolic, emotional, not showing homework. The only sources are himself and a random blog. I don't even know what they're talking about. More neutral sources are urgently needed. How about the article in La Presse or Forbes magazine or McGill Alumni? How about any of those articles? Doesn't matter. The fact that he is claimed to be politically neutral right above a section detailing his membership in a right-wing political party is ridiculous. I presume they're talking about me having run for the People's Party of Canada. Imagine thinking that respecting the Constitution makes you not just conservative, I object to that as well, but right-wing. Listen to this one. I second the laugh. This is on Wikipedia, for which people go to get understandings of other people. I second the laughability that Freit's views as being politically neutral. Someone who is neutral doesn't sing the praises of every right-wing conspiracy theory that comes his way. Emotional, unsubstantiated, totally vapid, and totally baseless. But it doesn't matter. That's the accusation, and that's wherein lies the power. People who run for office under the banner of far-right, quasi-fascist parties shouldn't be called neutral. And it gets even worse. This is like I don't want to say the circle operation. This is a vortex of ideological silo, because it started with right wing, and then it went to far right, quasi-fascist, and they're feeding off each other. Listen to this. I totally agree. Vive is extreme hard right. His streams consist of nonstop flows of fake news, conspiracy theories, and lies. The page is not accurate in its current state. Imagine this is what goes on in the back discussion, which is accessible to everybody. I don't know how Wikipedia works, but all I know is, incidentally, my Wikipedia page is not accurate to begin with. Wikipedia, here, let's do this. It's not accurate regardless, just because of a number of things. But this is what goes on in the backdrop of Wikipedia, a source that people actually use as a reference when talking about who's far right. It's a freaking joke. I got to see what the chat says here. It's a freaking joke. It's a 10-hour course to get your PAL. This is in Canada, I presume. It's a 10-hour course, but I think I took a 2-day course just for the long arm, for the non-restricted in Canada. 2-day course. I think it was very interesting. Everybody should know certain logistics about firearms. Everything, how they work, how to clean them. The science behind them. Everybody should know it. But no, that's it. So and I espouse views which I know that even the more conservative side of my subscriber base would find offensively left-leaning. But no, I'm far right for running with a party, the People's Party of Canada, which had arguably a more diverse candidate base than other parties, arguably, but not so arguably. And I'm thinking a couple of parties in particular. No, that doesn't matter. That they support immigration, but with certain restrictions that make it good for the immigrants and good for the country, that's far right. It's preposterous. But that is the Wikipedia entry page discussion behind me. For it goes when you have the people, everyone's bouncing off their own ideas and they agree with them. So it's just like it starts spinning faster and faster. It's like they start feeding off each other in terms of the manic frenzy of it. Yeah. Right wing. No, you're right. It's laughable. He's far right. No. He is hard far right. And by the way, and I'm saying this publicly, and I'll always say it. If I'm wrong, I want to know when and why. And I want people to tell me, to point out specifically what fake news, because I only actually typically review, I actually avoid questionable sources because I don't want to be caught citing a source that is itself actual fake news. Like the conservative Beaver, I think, is a journal in Canada, which is people sometimes mistakenly quote, not realizing it's actual fake news. There was another one that people were sharing about the CEO of Moderna or the CEO of Pfizer getting arrested, and it looked like it was called VancouverTimes.org. When I read a story that sounds a little too stupid or a little too out there, you got to Google the source before you retweet it. But you get people retweeting because they think VancouverTimes.org is legit. I only review The Guardian, CNN, for all of you. National Review, I don't think is fake news. Oops, sorry. What's the other one? The Revolver News. I don't think that's fake news at all. You might think it's conservative, and it might be. But I want someone to point out one fake news outlet that I've ever saw. By the way, there was one in the video I did on the Kinder Egg. I actually, there was a CBC article about smuggling Kinder Eggs over the border, and it was published in This and That. And I didn't realize that This and That on CBC was parody. I think that's the only time I've ever actually mistakenly referred to a CBC article, not realizing that it was parody, because I didn't know the column was parody. It was a Kinder Egg video a few years ago. Well, I did hit the mic. I don't gotta respect the mic. But I want, if I make a mistake or if I cite a bad news source, I want people to tell me. It's important to maintain integrity. But more important than this, I want people to tell me what right-wing conspiracy theories I have ever discussed. I can think of two that people might consider to be right-wing or conspiracy theories when early on, Robert Barnes and I were skeptical about the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot, the timing, the methodology, etc., where it looked like there might have been a little too much involvement of the FBI in foiling, or some might say facilitating the plot. If you consider that a right-wing extremist conspiracy theory, you're entitled to be totally ignorant, and I'm entitled to be totally vindicated because 2 of those defendants were acquitted specifically because there was a little too much FBI involvement that it became entrapment. So you can call that a conspiracy theory, and I will tell you, you're wrong, you're ill-informed, and I'm using nice words, and by the way, I've been vindicated on that. Some might say that my position on January 6th, they could say, if you had to pick one, maybe January 6th, where I said, it's a little suspicious. It seems like it might not have been facilitated or organized, but at the very least allowed it to happen so that it could be weaponized for political purposes. And I would say, yet again, I have been vindicated on that. The one acquittal that has occurred is vindication. Maybe not, there were people doing bad things, criminal things, and they should get punished, but fairly and in due process, in due time. But the acquittal is vindication for anyone who would want to pass that off as anything that is anything but totally substantiated. The judge came to the conclusion that you can't prosecute someone for trespass after you invited them in. So those are the 2 examples I could think of. And I would say anyone who raises those 2 examples probably doesn't know how those 2 incidents actually panned out in the court of law before an actual jury and judge. So spare me your accusations. You want to say broad things? Fine. Specify, be specific, be on point. You can call me names, whatever you want while you do it. You can call me the names, but be specific, because if you just call the names without the actual evidence, without the homework to back it up, as far as I'm concerned, you're nothing more than a liar. There, I said it. You made the polite Canadian angry. Is that emotional? All right. Everyone talks about conspiracy theory. What about conspiracy fact? Well, how about this? We talked about it yesterday. Conspiracy theory is a meaningless term, but for the manner in which it's been weaponized. Conspiracy means 2 or more people conspiring for a certain purpose. That's all it means. It doesn't mean anything more than that, except in the manner in which it's been used, where you think of flat Earth conspiracy theorists and moon landing conspiracy theorists, and then others, putting out different conspiracy theories, which are, I would argue, less substantiated, less able to be supported by evidence. But as just as a concept, conspiracy theory means 2 or more people working towards an end. The Democrats working with foreign interests or foreign parties to fabricate falsified, what do they call it? Opposition research, so they can then go to a FISA court to obtain unlawful spy warrants. That's a conspiracy theory. That's actually a conspiracy, incidentally. Sorry, what were we saying? What about conspiracy fact? It's nice to see you get out of your habit of making excuses for government. Godspeed and no step on snick. Yeah, someone told me when I went to the protest, the Ottawa protest, that how could I say it wasn't a extremist protest or a racist or misogynist protest? And after 3.5 hours, I interviewed someone with the Gadsden flag. No step on, don't tread on me is the Gadsden flag. I was like, I didn't, and I was like, for a second, I was like, holy crap, I didn't know there was anything racist about that flag. I didn't know there was anything misogynist about that flag, and I Googled it, and lo and behold, there isn't. But again, make the flag the extreme idea, and therefore anything that preceded or follows that becomes extreme by association. Call the flag racist, and therefore the underlying motive, the underlying spirit of that flag, which was no government coercion, less government intervention, more libertarian sort of philosophy, then that becomes extreme racist by association, by extension. It's a genius tactic, and it works on the non-discerning individuals. John Hutt, I wonder what the price of a howitzers are for Ukraine. They can't shop around captive customers. BAE can charge whatever it wants. It's interesting. I have no idea what these things cost. I used to donate to Wiki, but then they decided they hated me. They still contact me directly for money, though. Unbelievable. You know, if they just did their job properly, they wouldn't have to beg for donations. People would actually go out of their way to support an entity that does its job properly. You know, the JCCF, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, doesn't have to beg me for donations. Rebel News does not have to beg me for support. They send out their automated emails, but they don't. When you do your job well, people want to support people who do their jobs well. What do we got here? Much is said about gun laws in Australia, but as a licensed firearm owner, I am okay with it. I have friends that should never have them and can't. That's why there is look, I have my sentiment about high capacity magazines. I have my personal views on those as well. You know, and then whether or not it needs to be as much in order to achieve its intended purpose, because in the States, the Second Amendment is not the same thing as gun rights in Canada. You know, Rittenhouse, sorry, vindicated on Rittenhouse as well. Thank you for reminding me. No, in the States, I think there is, again, you know, I'll take flack for being not, I don't even think it's conservative, but, you know, not for thinking there should be certain limitations. But in Canada, they have criminalized self-defense. Canada has criminalized self-defense, full stop. You cannot own a firearm for the purposes of home defense. You can't own pepper spray. You can't own a taser. You can't own anything that you intend to use for self-defense purposes. You can't. And if you do, in fact, do something for the purposes of self-defense, good for you. You get to live, but they get to prosecute you. So, you know, there's a fine middle ground between what some might rightly or wrongly believe to be excess or a total absence of certain basic restrictions which ought to be in place. It's arguable whether or not they're already there in the States anyhow. You know, people don't understand. People think that it's the Wild West in the United States, that there's no background checks, that there's nothing. They don't understand that there are existing laws which would and should actually respond to a lot of the concerns. A lot of people also don't appreciate that the majority of gun crime in the States and in Canada not committed with lawfully procured firearms, and also not committed with stolen firearms. They're committed with black market firearms. And they're committed, especially in Canada, with small arms, the most highly regulated of the firearms in Canada. And then, you know, there's too much gun crime, they say, in Toronto, so they want to impose more restrictions on long arms, on legal law-abiding owners, when that's not where the problem is originating in the first place. So the issue is, you know, on the one hand, there is existing laws to deal with all of these issues already. And the problem that currently exists does not result from any deficiencies in existing law, not in the States and not in Canada. Okay, well, anyways, that's that. Now, do we do in the chat, people? Should we do the unboxing now? This is going to be a first. You cannot carry around fish hooks for self-defense purposes. Have I ever told you about the time I got a fish hook stuck in the back of my leg? I was fly fishing, and you know, whipping it back and forth, and then the wind gusted it behind my back, and as I went to launch forward, it was a small hook, and I didn't really feel anything, but getting it out was a problem. Okay, let's do the unboxing, people. We'll keep it quick. Let's tilt my camera down like that a little bit. That didn't do anything. That does nothing. Hold on. Okay, that's a little better. We're not going to get better. I don't want to cause a problem with my camera. If I pull the wrong plug, and the camera's going to go out, or the mic is going to go out. Okay, we're doing it. Heart tackle. I promised you. Thank you very much. Let's do this. Okay. Okay, sorry, I'm not actually showing the unboxing. Yes. There are shirts. Okay, here we go. Oh. Yeah, it's not possible that they don't want. It's heart tackle. It's not possible that they don't want this to be. This is. Well, Robbie is. Who? Bonjour, Vive et famille. I found you during the trucker convoy. One of the restreamers as well is a good guy. Is a good buddy. Okay, I won't read that. But oh yeah. Okay, there's a lot of stuff in here. This is going to be good for bass. The buzz shad, dude. You know what? This might be good in the Everglades. Booyah. Okay, we got rattleworm. Rattleworm. Where is this all made, by the way? Heart tackle. Made in the USA, people. That's something I can get behind. Can we see it? There we go. Made in the USA. Don't judge me on my fingernails, people, if they're ugly or gross. One of the companies that I wholeheartedly support is Len Thompson. The best spoons that I've ever used, made in Canada, and well made in Canada. I know that this is good for bass. Okay, I think this is going to be good jigging for walleye. Maybe I'll catch some walleye. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here, so I'm not going to go into all of it. Look at these things. Okay, dude, this is awesome. I'm going to do a fishing video this weekend where I'm going to do this. And okay, we got. And what looks like a shirt. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm thinking now? I'm thinking this actually has to be for use in Florida-ish, where you need long sleeves to protect from the sun when you're out fishing all day. Heart Tackle, thank you very much. It's the first unboxing live. And now I can't actually wait to use some of this. I'm going to do a video this weekend using some of this. We're going to see what we catch. Made in Alberta is Len Thompson. Best spoons out there. No joke. But this is made in America, and we're going to use these jigs. This is the Rattle and Chunk. My kid's going to enjoy playing with the ones that don't have hooks in them. Fantastic. Thank you very, very, very much. What do we say here? Truth in advertising. The package was made in the USA. Hold on if that's... No. This says made in the USA, people. And it's only going to be a matter of time. Preferring to buy things that are made in the USA or made in Canada. Well, Wikipedia is trying to brand me as far right. Hard far right. It's a very hard far right position to want to buy local-ish, to buy made at home. All right, let's see. I got some super chats that I didn't get to. Have Larry Sanger, everyone, if you don't mind, tweet out to him. I do have maybe something of a connection. Not a connection. I would love to. I would love to, because Wikipedia is showing the problem. Democratizing information is good, but democratizing editorializing has its risks. I'm going to try it. So let's tweet out Larry Sanger, see if we can get him on for a sidebar or a daytime interview. That would be phenomenal. Also, look into Wikipedia edits coming from Langley. Will do. New member, Field Scholars. Welcome to the channel, Field Scholars. Thank you. Using this logic, Viva, cars kill more than guns. Should we limit the amount of gas? No, but that's okay. Should we limit the amount of gas people buy? You don't need more than necessary to work to travel. No, but that's a bad analogy, or at the very least, you're analogizing the bad side of it. You need a license. You need a license. You need to take a course. You need to pass an exam, and you need a license. If anyone imposed those restrictions in the United States, Second Amendment supporting individuals would rightly freak out. And even still, there are, and even if we take that analogy, limit the horsepower, there are limitations to what are street legal vehicles. So, I mean, comparing the horsepower would be more like analogizing it to magazine capacity. Analogizing the requirements to vehicles would be, you'd have to compare the licensing requirement. And I don't think anyone in the States would support the idea that you need to get a license in order to buy a firearm. So Julio Suzanne Falcone, thank you for the super chat. I'm not trying to make fun. I just think the analogy is placed in the wrong section. You'd have to place the analogy in the certification process, not in the functionality process. And then even when you go to the functionality, there still are limitations to the street vehicles that you can ride on a street, or requirements for that matter. Programming note, Robert Barnes will be on the Duran in a little bit. Yeah. Oh, so maybe I should end. Oh, crap, I forgot that as well. Okay, I'm not going to go too far then. I'm going to quit a little early. When does Barnes go live? Is it at 1 o'clock or is it at 2 o'clock? There's too much going on the interwebs. They let you fish in Quebec for now, but they don't let you fish with live minnows anymore. And you got to get a license. I was with my kid. He says, why do we need to get a license? Because the government needs to take money wherever they think they can take money. And not just take money for the license. You got a license to catch that fish. You joke, Mr. Wonderful. You need a license to fish. It only costs $37 or $32 only. It costs $30. But if you fish without a license, wait until you see the fines they can impose on you then. So they get you on the license, they get you on any cost that they can find a way to claw away, and then they create regulations which create another source of revenue. I got a ticket, by the way, for driving my car, not without registration on me. I didn't sign the registration the minute it arrived in the mail. So I had my registration for my car, and it said, the person has to sign here. I didn't sign the piece of paper. I had my registration. I had my registration on me in the car. I had my license. What did they pull me over for? What did they pull me over for? It wasn't speeding, because I've only gotten one speeding ticket in the last recent memory. I don't remember. But I got a ticket for not having signed the registration paper. Could have done it as the cop approached if I had known that there was an actual law that said if you do not sign your piece of paper, it's a $120 fine. Luckily, there were no demerits. So, other than money, that's it. We have to have a fishing license in Texas. It's not too expensive. Yeah, no, but check out the fines for fishing without a license. They can, in Quebec, they can seize everything. They can seize your car. They can seize your fishing equipment. They can seize your boat, depending on what you have on you at the time they catch you. More laws, less justice, people. All right, what are we going to move on to now? Because there was a lot of good stuff. Oh, let's move on to let's move on to this. Just because it's just a funny thing. This is a tweet that Elizabeth Warren put out, and it was her choice in still images on her tweet. Childcare workers need a raise, providers need more resources to keep their doors open, and families need quality, affordable options. My plan for universal childcare would meet all of those needs. Let's get it done. No, sorry, Elizabeth, you're going to have to wait. They only have $4 billion for a foreign war in Ukraine. But she used this image. And this is not just like one of the accidental okay signs. This is pay attention to it, people. The whole meme, by the way, was that it got started with that image is supposed to be a W and a P. White power. That was the meme started on 4chan that the ADL picked up on. This is not one of those accidental, okay, like when people talk, they go like, it's okay. Or, dude, this is as far as it goes. First of all, it's the image Elizabeth Warren herself chose. And it's a hard one. ADL, I think it was ADL, or was it the ACLU? Okay, racism. Let's see here. Okay, hand gesture. ADL, by the way. Look at this. And we're going to look at this. Look at how it's being done on. Hey. What is this? Get out of here. Okay, that's not. I want to just see the signal. This is why. Oh, come on. You're getting in the way. Here we go. The okay hand gesture. The W is for white and the P is for power. This was a 4chan meme that got picked up by gullible people. That's how it's done. For reasons, they've added a note. For reasons explained below, particular caution must be used when evaluating the symbol. Yeah, particular caution. Who's using it? Because if it's Joe Biden using it, like this, it's not. He doesn't mean it. But if it's Vive Frei on a stream who gesticulates with his hands, if he does it, if he's playing with his beard like this, he means it. Particular caution. That caution, who's doing it? Ally, it's okay. Adversary, racism. I couldn't believe it. White. Oh, I'm an idiot. I should have said white power. Anyway, the meme is, but I can't get over it. It's just, we live in a world which is more absurd than fiction. Okay, you know what? Before we get into the next subject, I'm going to bring this one up. I'm a vet in, I think that's Tennessee. Big hunter and Second Amendment advocate. I've been in contact with Jake. We're wanting to have both of y'all to my place for a legendary time. Both for you to formulate your opinion on firearms after you fired them all. Well, I fired a shotgun, a Remington 12 gauge. I haven't yet gone hunting, and I'm looking forward to it one day. I don't think I would have and I say this without judgment for anybody who can do it. I'm not sure that I would be able to kill a deer. I don't think I'd have a problem hunting for duck or birds. And yes, if you want to call me that, like, I have no problem eating it. I just don't think I'd have the stomach to actually end the life of such a big, beautiful animal, even though I think morally and to be consistent, I should, in that I believe that there's nothing wrong with eating meat. Rule of acquisition 069. You could afford your ship without your government if it weren't for your government. What is rule of acquisition? Mahuyo, I know what you're doing. I have to see what rule of acquisition is. You could afford your ship without your government if it weren't for your government. Okay, I understood it now. Thank you. Got it. And I see two more starred ones here. I don't understand anti-gunner in USA and abroad mindset of that if we just get rid of the guns, there will be no murder or crime. It's BS. I need a magazine with 2 more bullets than the bad guy. Well, the idea that Tim Pool made a decent argument, and I hadn't actually never thought about it. It's like when you see someone with a gun in public, you're like, they might go berserk and shoot up a room. It's like, but when you see someone with a car, you don't have the same reflex. Like they might run me over. I mean, they could, in as much as in states where open carries are legal, someone deciding randomly snapping and deciding to run someone over, it's no more of an absurd thought than someone who's legally carrying a firearm, randomly snapping and deciding to use it. And when people say it, we need to outlaw all lawful ownership, they just don't understand the statistics. They just don't understand it. You go to Toronto, it's, I don't know, I'd say 85% small arms, if not 85% small arms gun violence, and the vast majority on illegal black market firearms, not even stolen lawful firearms. People just don't know, and people just don't want to learn. That's the those who don't know but think they know just don't want to learn. The people that follow gun laws are the ones you don't have to worrying to begin with. Prohibition of lawful possession solves nothing. Start adding a 1 for every law a criminal violated. Don't punish the gun, punish the crime. And I tend to agree. The squeamishness will go away after you've had your first venison tenderloin with... No, dude, I love it. Well, and there's another reason. I don't think I would ever, what's the word? I don't think I would ever forgive myself if it were one of those incidents where you wound the animal and it runs off and you don't find the carcass. I don't think, or it goes on to live a miserable existence and doesn't die, or it goes too far away and it dies and I can never find it. Story time. Did I ever tell this one? It was back when I was in Florida. The only time we had never celebrated New Year's Eve at my parents' cottage. We were in Florida. We were staying at a Holiday Inn, and I was there with my brother. I loved fishing at 12. I was 13, 12 or 13. Whenever Dances with Wolves came out, this is when the story happened. And I woke up one morning, I snuck out with my brother. I went fishing, didn't tell my parents where we were going, and that led to them absolutely flipping out because they flipped out. But we went fishing on one of these little ponds right in behind the hotel, right by the side of the highway, and I caught the biggest sunfish I'd ever caught. And I was young and stupid. I don't even know what the hell I was thinking. I said, I'm gonna kill it and I'm gonna eat it for dinner. Because I was so happy. It was such a big, beautiful sunfish. I wanted to show my parents. I wanted to eat it. So I killed it, took it back to the hotel. And then my parents like, where are you gonna cook this? There's no, what do they call them? Kitchenette in this hotel room. I was like, well, okay, I'll take it with us for dinner and I'll ask the chef at the restaurant to cook the fish. And then we're going to watch Dances with Wolves. What are you going to do with this fish when we go out to watch Dances with Wolves? I said, okay, I'm going to take the hotel ice box. It was a traumatic experience for me. I'm going to take the hotel ice box. I'm going to fill it with ice. I'm going to put the fish in it. And when we're done with the movie, I'm going to take it to the restaurant. I'm going to ask the chef to cook it. We go watch Lord of the Rings, the movie, Dances with Wolves, 3.5 hour. When you're a kid, that was a freaking long movie. And then I come back out. The ice is thawed in the container. My parents are like, Dave, this is not realistic. You can't do it. We're not going to be able to do it. You can't go to the Outback. I don't know what the restaurants were. You can't go to a restaurant, ask them to gut the fish, which has been sitting in the car all day. Just give it up. And then I remember laying the fish at the base of a tree. And first of all, I was upset because I had killed this fish. I wasn't going to get to eat it. And I pictured this beautiful fish, woke up in the morning in a pond, and now is sitting at the base of a tree. And the way I tried to rationalize it to myself at the time, I saw ants starting to, gather. And I was like, at least a fish or some birds are going to eat it. It's not going to go to waste and yada, yada. But that was it. I didn't get to eat it, and I felt terrible. And I never forgot that feeling. if I shot a deer and it ran off and either didn't die or died and I couldn't find it, I'm not sure that I would ever feel good about that experience ever again. Weeks of therapy. I'll tell you another one. This one I got over. I caught a trout, beautiful trout. I could have easily released it, killed it because I wanted to show my parents and I wanted to eat it. And I remember sitting there with this I got out of because I grew out of it. Up at my parents' cottage, sun is setting. I'm putting the fish in my mouth, looking at the lake. It was crystal clear, sun setting behind the mountains, the most glorious evening in the world. It's like, this fish could have been there, could have been enjoying it. And it was like when Homer Simpson was eating Pinchy the lobster. He's like, it's so delicious. Oh, Pinchy. And it was my Pinchy moment, but I've gotten over that. I have no problem killing a fish to eat it and eating it. And for whatever, and I put all of it to use. Take some of the stuff and, mix it up with dog food. The dogs love it. Okay, Duran is starting, Viva. Okay, let me go. Did I skip? Okay, we're gonna do two more quick stories. If we're late, redirecting everyone to the Duran, I'm going to apologize to Barnes for not remembering this. What is your plan B, Viva? Canada is banning self-defense. Next, it is a communist takeover. It happened in Venezuela, Argentina, and almost Brazil. I cannot discuss that just yet. Okay, so what was the other stories on the menu? Let's just go to no laws in the US, people. This is the tweet coming from Jen Psaki. Jen Psaki. We see the same thing here. Go, everyone. Do not stay for me if you want to go watch the Duran. Flip side, I'm going to end within 30 minutes so you can go back to the Duran, watch it at 1.5, and then catch up in real time. But no, I totally understand. Well, the Duran. Okay, let me see here. This is Jen Psaki. Condemning. And I'm putting condemning in scare quotes. What's going on in front of SCOTUS, Supreme Court justices' homes now? Picketing, protesting in front of their homes. Jen Psaki says, at POTUS strongly believes in the constitutional right to protest. They just don't believe in the constitutional right of the Second Amendment, but setting that aside. But that should never include violence, threats, or vandalism. Okay, good. Judges perform an incredibly important function in our society, and they must be able to do their jobs without concern for their personal safety. I agree with that too. Where's the condemnation of what is actually going on? You'll notice, people, this is not an accident. This is when it came to acts of terrorism, how the apology or the condemnation would never be a condemnation. It would always be, we strongly condemn violence on both sides. POTUS strongly believes in the constitutional right to protest. Good for him. At least more than can be said of Justin Trudeau, but setting that aside. But that should never include violence, threats, or vandalism. Okay, at large, broad. Judges perform an incredibly important function of society. Okay, and they must be able to do their jobs without concern for their personal safety. Okay, how about saying we strongly condemn the protests that are currently occurring on SCOTUS front lawns of their homes because it makes them feel threatened? It interferes with them doing their jobs. How about specifically saying that instead of this vapid word salad that actually says nothing? Notice how in this vapid word salad of a virtue signaling tweet, PressSec actually fails to specifically and categorically condemn what is going on in front of the homes of Supreme Court justices. It's a fine skill, wordsmithing, to make it seem like you're condemning something and actually not condemning it. Some people might actually call that a dog whistle. We strongly condemn violence on both sides, meaning that somehow it's justified, and both sides are wrong. She has not condemned it. She's just flat out. It's virtue signaling. It looks like condemnation when it's actually not. When you read it properly, and it's not like what is going on SCOTUS front lawns is not specifically illegal. It's specifically illegal. And for anyone who doubts me, I'll show my homework. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I believe it's 18 United States Code, section 1507. I believe that because it is. 18 USC, picketing or parading. Whoever with the intent of interfering with, obstructing, or impeding the administration of justice, or with the intent of influencing any judge, juror, witness, or court officer in the discharge of his duty. You're going to have to fix that. His or her duty. Pickets or parades in or near a building housing a court of the United States, or in or near a building or residence occupied or used by such a judge, juror, witness, or court officer, or with such intent uses any sound truck, interesting, or similar device, or resorts to any other demonstration in or near any such building, residence, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both. Specifically illegal, specifically applicable, and no condemnation from Saki. Let me just read it again, people. And by the way, apply it actually to who pickets near a building or a residence occupied by such a judge, juror, witness, or officer of the court with such intent, and the intent was to influence any judge. Will there be any arrests, any indefinite detainments a la January 6th? If you want to talk about people actually doing in real time what was alleged that people were doing mutatis mutandis to congressional hearings back in January, still in jail for, by the way. Has there been one arrest? Outright, overtly illegal, and they ain't going to do a damn thing about it, because I think it was Cat Turd who said it best. The Department of Justice operates for the benefit of the Democratic Party. The FBI works for the benefit of the Democratic Party. Prosecution works for the benefit of the Democratic Party. They will unleash fire and brimstone to go after those who protested, who, what was the word they used? Who trespassed in the Capitol Hill, in the Capitol building on January 6th. Fire and brimstone, all of the resources of the FBI to go after them. These people have been sitting on the front lawns of SCOTUS in plain, wanton, clear violation of United States Code Section 1507. They've done nothing. I don't think there's been one arrest, and I don't anticipate there will be. But wait, there's more, because it actually gets worse. Wait until you see what's her face? Lori Lightfoot. Wait until you see what Lori Lightfoot is tweeting. I mean, you guys, if for those of you who are not on Twitter, I guess I'm either helping you or making you unhappy because I'm showing you what's on Twitter despite your unwillingness to be there. Lori Lightfoot. To my friends in the LGBTQ plus community, the Supreme Court is coming for us next. This moment has to be a call to arms. But wait, there's more. We will not surrender our rights without a fight to victory. To which, well, first I screenshotted this just in case she ever deletes them. A call to arms, a fight to victory. Trump was impeached for saying, fight like hell. This is nothing shy of a call to arms. I mean, it's a call to arms. It is a call to arms in real time, in its truest form. I want to see something now because someone made a joke. Someone made a joke about call to arms wiki. Let's just go back here for 1 second. Check this out, people. Let's see if call to arms Wikipedia has been amended. Call to arms video game, Wikipedia, call to arms. Oh, maybe we want to go with expression. Call to arms expression. Video game, Wikipedia. How do I go now? Call to arms. When was it last edited? This page was last edited. Oh, okay. Well, it hasn't been edited yet, but let's just see. Yeah, because that's not exactly what we want for call to arms. Expression meaning. A call to prepare for confrontation. A call to arms to defend against a takeover. That's from the dictionary. A call to arms is a summons to engage in active hostilities. Merriam-Webster. Call to arms, A summons to engage in active hostilities. A summons, invitation, or appeal to undertake a particular course of action. That one's a political call to arms. Oh, when was that? The heck is that? Get out of here. When was that definition added? I'm curious. I don't know how this works. Okay, whatever. Overt, egregious, over the top. Anything going to happen? No. Trump was impeached. Trump was impeached for his speech on Capitol Hill where he said, peacefully protest, fight like hell for your country. He was impeached for that. Lori Lightfoot, in a city which has maybe a little bit too much call to arms, is actively calling people to arms to fight for victory. So we'll see what happens. Probably nothing. I mean, I even wonder if that's going to get flagged for violating Twitter's terms of service, because that seems to be actively encouraging conflict. Okay, and then we're going to finish. We're going to finish on this. Oh, you know what? No, before we finish, let's just see here. The definition for calls to arms will be updated by Webster to fit the narrative, just like the definition of. Yeah. Well, if anyone can check that out, I mean, aggregate knowledge of the internet. See when Merriam-Webster updated it for a political meaning. You know what? I want to be smart and do it right now. Hold on. When was it updated? Call to arms meaning Merriam-Webster, and does it say when it was last updated on this website? I'm just going to go down and bottom and see. I cannot see when it says if it was updated or edited. Oh, accessed May 10. Shut up, people. Sorry, I didn't mean to tell you to shut up. I did not mean to tell you to shut up. Seems to me that today's May 10. I don't know what the change was, people. Unfreaking believable. Call to arms. The definition we saw up here: summon, invitation, or appeal to undertake a particular course of action. A political call to arms. Hey, peeps, check this out. Call to arms, Merriam-Webster Dictionary, accessed May 10, 2020. And now how do we go? Do we get to see the old version? Do we get to see what the changes are? Unbelievable. Yeah, it was just, I'm sure it's coincidentally, but this is going to make me a theorist. I would like to know what the change was, if anybody can tell. But we now know from their own website, it was accessed, and it was accessed today. Sometimes I feel like I've gotten too cynical, and then that happens. I doubt it. Wayback Machine. So anyway, okay. Anyone who can do it, tag me in a tweet, and I'll do it when I finish this off. I am on Rumble, Tate Brown. We are simultaneously streaming on Rumble. Okay, and then we're gonna finish with one topic, and then I'm gonna divert everyone over to the Duran to watch Barnes. Oh, we got one. Borg Khan says, awesome as usual. Vive and the community hope to see you guys lead the West out of this wilderness. Must heed call to my stomach and my wife. Peace and love to all. Thank you very much. By the way, I've been branded far right. Someone just texted me and says accessed only means someone looked at it. Okay. But Borg Khan, to the extent that I've been branded as hard right, wishing peace and love is a dog whistle. So wishing peace and love is going to be the next hate symbol in the ADL's handbook. Let me see here. My face is itchy again. Stay honest and follow the truth. I always will. And at some point, that too will be hard right. Now, speaking of following the truth, people, polls. There are two types of statistics. What are there? What is it? There's three types of lies. Lies, damned lies, and statistics. And Canadian media is master at all of them. Keep having a difficulty here. Okay. Share screen. Chrome tab. The Globe and Mail. Oh, here we go. Globe and Mail. I want to see how much bailout money Globe and Mail got, but this is from the Globe and Mail. This guy that you see here is, what's his name? He's the Minister of Heritage now. Took over from the other equally, corrupt individual. What's his name? It'll be in the article. This is the Globe and Mail, people. Majority of Canadians support federal government's plan to regulate the internet. Polls show. I doubt it. But we got to see the poll. We Are we going to be able to get past the freaking garbage firewall? Not doing it. Sorry, you can't even see that, but it's behind a paywall. So I screenshotted it when I was able to access it real quick, like on my iPhone. Car honking. Majority of Canadians support federal government's plan to regulate internet. Bull crap with a capital B. But before we get there, we're going to see Globe and Mail federal bailout. Let's just see if they got any of the federal media bailout. Media sector gets $5 million, but I want to know if Globe. I mean, it's inconceivable the Globe and Mail didn't get any. I just don't know what amount they got. Here we go. Check this out. Okay, Globe. Here we go. Uniforms. Okay, it doesn't look like. Oh wait, hold on. Go down. Find the. Come on, man. Okay. Find Globe. Okay. Let's see here if this is answering the question. Federal funding budget. Ottawa outlines criteria for media funding package introducing. Okay, so that's from the Globe and Mail. So I won't be able to find out if the Globe and Mail, how much they got. It's inconceivable that they did not get any of this federal bailout of the $600 million. It's inconceivable that they didn't. But apparently their headline, the majority of Canadians support the federal government's plans to regulate the internet. Let's just break that down a little bit. This is from the article when I was able to screenshot it. The Nanos Research Survey conducted between April 29 and May 2nd polled 1,000 phone Canadians by phone and online. It has a margin of error of whatever, who cares? This poll that the Globe and Mail purports to support their headline that the majority of Canadians support the federal government's intention to regulate the internet is based on 1,005 Canadians who were reached by phone and online. I'll ask you guys out in the chat. Have you ever responded? Have you ever done a survey that came through online? Have you ever said, yeah, that's what I want to do with my time right now. I want to take however many minutes it takes to fill out an online survey. One for yes, or how about just yes for yes, I've done it. No, I've never done it. And we'll see what demographic you are already filtering it down to of people who are willing to take a certain amount of time out of their day. And I say this without judgment. It's just to understand we are narrowing down the sample field. Which demographic would be most likely to take time out of their day to respond to an online request to do a survey? But they were also reached by phone. And I presume that means landline. And at the very least, it's going to involve some landline. Which demographic would be most likely to have landlines? What would be their political leanings? What would be their fear of an unregulated internet? And most importantly, what the heck was the question in this poll? I don't know what the question was. I'd like anyone who could find it. I couldn't find it. I was trying to look. What was the question in this poll? But even more important than that, by the way, who commissioned the poll? Oh, looky. A Nanos research poll commissioned by the Globe and Mail. The Globe and Mail, funded or bailed out by federal bailout monies, on the dole for all of this COVID government advertising. They commissioned the poll, which they got their 1,005 survey people, and the Globe and Mail, subsidized by government bailout, subsidized by COVID ads and government advertising, commissioned their own poll, talked to 1,005 Canadians who are probably going to be highly likely to be of a certain political demographic, and came to the conclusion. Oh, and by the way, even then, only 55% of this that's the best they could do with this skewed, idiotic, bullcrap poll that was commissioned by what is basically the propaganda arm of the federal government. Yeah, no, it's great. 1,005 people. They run the headline, majority of Canadians, in a poll that we commissioned for our employers This is what we found. And the best they could even do with this garbage, stupid poll was 55%. But David Amber, all those of you know who he is. Dave Amber, the Canadian lawyer who's representing a lot of people involved in the absolute abusive prosecution stemming from the protests. Okay, 1,005 people is barely 3% of an average stadium. 1,005 people is a third of the people that we have watching. Oh, no, it's a quarter because we have a lot on Rumble as well. And that is those who decide to respond to that's just a third of those who decided to respond in the first place. But hold on, I'm going to take this off. Not everyone should go back and watch the sidebar with Richard Barris. Polls are nothing more than institutionalized fraud, period. You can get a poll to do whatever you want it to do based on how you ask the question, who you target, how you target people, who you decide to exclude because they didn't answer properly. They are institutionalized fraud. And this one is commissioned by the propaganda arm of the federal government, subsidized by the federal government, both directly and indirectly through government ads that keep these legacy garbage media afloat. And they've run a bias skewed poll for their employer. And lo and behold, 55% of the respondents said, yes, they support it. They run with the headline, the majority of Canadians support this thing that nobody supports in Canada. And just to show you how nobody supports it, David Amber, who has a very big Canadian, I mean, if I had to guess, Amber's following is mostly Canadian. He ran a poll and he said, two can play at this absurd game. Do you support the government's plan to regulate the internet? His poll got to nearly 2,000 votes before a single person voted yes. David Amber, admittedly, his poll is going to be skewed based on the political leanings of his followers. You can't know anybody who's voting on it if they're Canadian. We know there's a whole bunch of problems. But it got to nearly 2,000 votes before even one person said yes, they support it. What's it at now? Can we do it? No, I have to log in. Well, let me see what it's at now. I'll just I'll live risky like. And hold on, if I do this, I'm going to do this. Okay, now I'm going to take this out of incognito so that we can do it in my actual not incognito. So you just make sure that my message box is not open. Let's just see what he's at now. Look at this, people. And go, if you're on Twitter, go share it because I do want the broadest. I mean, it's best to get the broadest sample field possible. David Amber. Oh, my stomach is starting to grumble. Can we see this? We can see this. Yep. Look at this, people. Yeah, we're only at 6,530 votes. And it's 99%. Oh, sorry. 98.9% say, no, we do not support it. Hey, Globe and Mail. How do you respond to that? You peddlers of government propaganda. How do you respond to that? No, his poll it's totally skewed. He asked the open internet. Yeah, boss. Hey, boss. Yeah, totally skewed. 99%. And it'll only get better. You know, I was just about to check my messages as a reflex. Yep. It's only going to get better. Okay, cancel that. And I think that will cover it for the day, people. I think there was nothing more that I wanted to talk about. Majority of government, yeah, behind a paywall, not sharing it. All right, people. Ordinarily, I would sit around and, oh no, I got to do the super chats, and then we're going to go. Super chats, then we end, and everyone should head over to the Duran Say Viva Senchi so you can go listen to Barnes, because Barnes is obviously dropping the truth. I don't want to say truth bombs. He's dropping the truth. Viva Bambi tastes. I thought it was Bamba, like another food. Bambi tastes amazing. I've eaten venison. I mean, I have no problem. I eat a bunch of stuff. But what is your plan B? Okay, so I got to this one already. Come down to Texas. I'll take you hog hunting, and you will enjoy the shooting. And they are ugly enough. Well, I've also heard that they're pests, and you do have to cull the wild hog population to prevent not just like agricultural problems, but they do attack people. When anyone wants to justify, the hunting side, you say it's to cull overpopulation, and it's probably true. And if those things taste as good as regular bacon, they are ugly enough to get you past Bambi phobia. I don't know. It's not a beauty thing at all. It's just it's a higher order thing. That's after we get you an out-state hunting license. Promise. I'm screenshotting this. Okay, awesome. Hunting animals humanely is called stalking. You only fire if you are certain of a kill. It's what I practice and is rewarding. Venison is succulent. I agree, and I have absolutely no problem with it. Just to make sure that you can do it. Lawn protests of any kind wouldn't carry on long in the South. GB Kingdom. There is, I don't. They would. I mean, I don't know how you break them up without getting violent, because you don't want to go to jail for addressing stupidity either. So, it's just. But when it's a two-tiered law enforcement, law prosecutorial system. It's two-tiered, and it seems to be politically driven. 1984, pure and simple. That was in response to Meredith Webster. An example of 1984 in real time, priceless. And one more, no, it was citing the site for you. So you can cut and paste to your bibliography. You accessed the definition on May 10. Damn it. I thought we had something proven. Damn it. Okay, well, we'll see. Maybe I'm gonna go back and look. Wayback shows every snapshot for call to arms with no change. Okay, good. Oh, I was so happy for a second. Correction, people. Erratum. The accessed does not mean it was changed, and it has not been changed. The accessed apparently seems to be me accessing the website today, or that definition. Oh, well. That's why the aggregate knowledge of the internet is a good thing, people. Thank you, and thank you. I'm going to go back and Wayback Machine it anyhow. Let us know how the tackle works. Absolutely. All right, people, that's it. Thank you for everything. Short one today because I absolutely forgot. Barnes is live on the Duran. Let me just go and get that link right now. The Duran live now. Russia, NATO, and Barnes in all his glory. There it is, people. I'm going to pin it. Go watch it now. And tell Barnes I apologize for overlapping. That's it. Okay. Enjoy the rest of the day, people. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for everything. Clip, share. You know what to do. And stay tuned for the launch of the merch platform. New, and it's going to be amazing. So with that said, exercise, sunlight, vitamin D, healthy living. Get out there.